The scripture of this time is taken from Luke 24, 1 to 7. On the first day of the week, very long, we went to the tomb because Christ was they passed the sun rolled away from the tomb. But when they got in, they did not find one of the Lord Jesus. While they were perplexed about this, behold, two men stood by them. It's Mark 16, 1 to 5. When the Sabbath was passed, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome bought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb, and they were saying to one another, "Here, Lord, make this moment for us from the entrance of the tomb." And looking up, they saw that the stone had been rolled back. It was very large. And entering the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, dressed in white robe, and they were alarmed. And we take it now, we look at Matthew 28, 1 verses 2 to 8. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven, and came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. And for fear of him, the guards trembled and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here, but he is risen, as he said. Come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell the disciples that he has risen from the dead. And behold, he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him. See, I have told you." So they departed quickly from the tomb with fear and great joy, and ran to tell the disciples. And thank you, God. Praise be to God.
Thank you all for taking part on that. I think that, yeah, good idea. My glasses can be positive. All right, we'll get organized. If you turn your Bible to that passage of scripture that we first read, and that is the book of Mark, chapter 16. Mark 16 is where we'll start. Now, I'm going to ask you to help me out here because it doesn't make sense. So every time I put my mic a little bit further down, I can't hear it. Just do that. I'll remember to put my hand up, right? All right, so here we go. Let me give you an introduction first of all to the quick. It's interesting because every time we talk about things such as the resurrection of Jesus Christ, we think about it as something that is so sacred for us that you can't ask questions. How dare you ask a question whether Jesus resurrected? In fact, because he is resurrected and because it is a fact, it is impervious to questions in terms of the inability to knock down facts. But questions need to be asked so that you can understand the facts. If I were to say to you, for example, that the earth is spherical, right? It's like a ball, like that, not exactly shape of a ball, but it's like a ball. You can ask 1,000 questions to me in order to understand why and how the Earth could be spherical. How can you prove it? What happens at the horizon? You can ask all kinds of different questions to verify the shape of the Earth. If I say to you the Earth is flat, and you ask 2 questions, they say stop asking questions. You're not supposed to ask questions. You just have to believe that it's flat. You become a little bit suspicious. And that's what happened for a whole period of time. People believed the earth was flat, and anybody who questioned that was burned at a stake, or they were stoned to death. Questions are necessary for us to understand. And it's the same way with the resurrection. As we come to the resurrection of Jesus Christ, you discover in the passages that you have read and throughout the entire account of all the gospel accounts, questions that were asked to the people by the people in regards to what we need to understand about the resurrection and its implication on our lives. Questions are important because if you don't ask questions of yourself, you don't examine yourself. Self-examination comes from self-question. And so our topic today is questions from the MT2 at the MT2. And so there are 3 questions if you read the gospel accounts. We read 2 passages of scripture, one from the book of Mark, another from the book of Matthew, that Alan has read for us. And then also from the book of Luke, that when we first began, Lee read for us, which is actually joined together. 3 questions from at the MT2. 1 question was asked by the people approaching MT2, and 2 questions were asked to them. And out of these 3 questions, my hope is that we will be able to learn what it is that the resurrection means to us. Before we begin, let's pray. Father, we thank you that you have the word is open in front of us. We don't live in a country where it's forbidden for us to read your word and to read it in dark corners of the wall. But Father, I pray that we will understand your word and we will be mobilized and motivated to read it and not wait for the knock on the door to come when we cannot do so. I pray, Father, that we will understand and your Spirit might use your word to work in us. For those of us who do not know you, who are still strangers to this thing called grace, pray, Father, that this morning might be one who will open our hearts and minds to you. Father, help us to lay aside the Adamic nature and put on the nature of God and the ears of God and the heart of God to understand what it is that you have to say to us. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. So that's for us. If you have the Bible open, if you don't have a Bible with you, glad to give you one. But for now, up here, Mark chapter 16. Take the entire passage, as we normally do, we walk through the passage and work way through it. But I'd like for us to actually engage in the points where it comes up to the questions asked. Mark chapter 16, verse 1, talks about the Sabbath that was passed. You understand, the word Sabbath means Saturday. But it can also mean the 7th day of the Passover. And that year, there were 2 Passovers. There were 2 Sabbaths. The end of the Passover on the 7th day, and then the next day is also a Sabbath. So there are 2 days where people weren't able to work that year. And it happens like that. It's a Sabbath, the Passover of the Sabbath, the 7th day of the Sabbath shifts because it's a lunar calendar year. In that particular year, it was 2 Sabbaths back to back. So there was a lot of waiting, 3 days of waiting. And after the third day had passed, when Jesus had been crucified on the cross, the women, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome, brought spices. What were these things? They were when you prepare the body, you prepare the spices. You actually have to prepare before the burial. But now they're doing it after the burial because he was buried just before the Sabbath. There was no time. So these women were taking not only a risk because the tomb was guarded by guards, they were also very determined that even though the body might have been smelling by this point, 3 days in the tomb, it would be something to watch. But they prepared spices anyway. They wanted to do this because they loved Jesus and they wanted to make their way to that tomb. So this was not a pretense. These were individuals who understood that there was an exigent situation. There was a situation that demanded for them to be courageous, but also demanded for them to be determined. So that they might go and anoint the body of Jesus. That's the end of verse 1. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. This would be an indication of the end of the Sabbath and the rising of the sun, they would go. So I want to make, as we have described these first 2 verses, some observations, or one observation. And that is the basis for which good questions occur. How is it that we are able to ask good questions to ourselves? And good questions that need answering. Good questions often come out of a willingness to engage. I'll tell you this much. I've met a lot of individuals and taught a lot of individuals various things. Before I became a pastor, I was in counseling, I was teaching psychology, so I was teaching. And students who don't ask questions, I know they are not engaged. They're disengaged from the topic, they don't ask questions. People who ask intelligent questions, not like, can I go to the washroom? I mean, not that kind of question, right? Their engagement is, can I go to the washroom, period. But real questions, people who ask true questions are questions that are based on the fact that they are engaged in the topic that you are talking about. Disengaged people don't ask questions. Yeah, blah, blah, yeah, blah, blah, blah. That's all they hear. These women asked the question because they were willing to engage in the situation. I want you to notice how they were engaged. In fact, their engagement was very clear. I outlined some of this just now. When Sabbath was first passed, they brought spices. They used the first opportunity that they could ever use in order for them to actually get going. In other words, the first at the door. The second, so that they might go and anoint the body of Jesus. Most loving thought. I told you that by this time, the body would be right. You anoint the body before it is buried, not after it is buried. And that's why they had a conundrum. We'll talk about it later. And the third thing is that they went very early when the sun had risen. They were eagerly devoted to Jesus. So there was this engagement, and I ask you, and I ask everyone who's listening to this, what is our engagement? Not just in the resurrection of Christ, but in our spiritual lives. What's our engagement? The things that we have to do with our life. Or do you just wait for the Mack truck to hit you? Do you just wait for the knock on the door, as I wrote in that email out to everyone? Do you wait for something bad to happen before you say, oh, I gotta learn how to pray, but maybe I should ask somebody to pray for me, or maybe I should find some way to count beads or do something to intervene in the situation. You don't do that. You engage in who God is so that when situations arise, you engage in Him. And so the question that we have to ask ourselves, are we engaged in the things that God calls us to? The very fact that you live and eat and live and breathe and have your being. The very fact that you're able to move. Do you actually start giving thanks to God only after you are immobilized for some reason? God invites those who are willing to seek Him, to discover Him, and to engage with Him, and to engage with Him. This is an invitation. And the invitation is always to us to say, I want to start listening to Him. Now, Isaiah, 100 years before Jesus was even born, wrote these words. His prophet from the Old Testament. Seek the Lord while He may be found. It's not because He's hiding somewhere and He's now found and so you can hide it. When Isaiah used these words, seek the Lord while He may be found, He's saying, while you even have the ability to go searching. You have your eyes to see, you have legs to walk, you have your hands to engage. Seek the Lord while He may be found. Call upon Him while He is near before you propel away. Before you say, I wish I could read the Bible and remember what it says. You have the Bible on your shopping table somewhere. Grab it, read it on your device. Read it. Seek the Lord while He may be found. Call upon Him while He is near. Engage, please. Now, this is a reason for engagement. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Isaiah 55, verse 6 to 7 is actually a call to us to actually turn from those ways, not to say, okay, I'm going to engage, but actually to turn from it. It's not the menu item on the restaurant. When you walk in a restaurant, say, I want hamburger, but you never get to eat it. You don't just order and not eat. He's saying, I need you to do something with what you are doing. When you seek Him and you find Him, when you're able to call upon Him and He's near, this is what you need to do. Hear this. Let the wicked forsake his way. In other words, the things that you are doing, the word wicked describes moral sin. The moral drive to walk away from what you know is right to do. You know you shouldn't take that, but you took it. You know you shouldn't tell a lie, but you told it. You know you ought not be able to think something or hate someone, but you hate the person anyway because you don't seem to be able to help it. That's called wickedness. Moral sin. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man, that which is doing right before God, is called righteous. Those who do wrong in the eyes of God is unrighteous. Let the unrighteous man forsake his thoughts and let him return to the Lord. That's the key, to go back. The engagement is to return back. The Lord, He may have compassion on Him and to our God, for He will abundantly pardon. That is invitation. If you engage in Him, then comes the response. He will have you abundantly pardon. He has grace upon you. Earlier in the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 18, Isaiah writes these words. As he's formulating the invitation, he says to those who think they are clean, but they are not. Come now. Let us reason together. In other words, I'm not going to ask you to come empty-minded. I'm asking you to come empty-handed. I'm going to ask you to come with an open heart and open mind, but I want you to think this through. Come now. Let us reason together, says the Lord. Look, your sins are like scarlet, they shall be white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall become If you're willing to and obedient, so there's a heart that's open to engage, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be eaten by the sword. That is this fear of being eaten or eating. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Now remember, this is the very beginning of Isaiah as he writes to the people to try to engage them to the table. Come, let us reason together. That's what we're doing this. By the time he reaches the latter passage, he's saying, you've got to do this. Let the wicked forsake his way, the righteous man has come. And then he returned to the Lord. This call, this invitation, is what these three women, Mary, and Salome, engaged in. I want you to understand that even though they engaged, they had questions in their mind. And that's the imperfection of life. The imperfection of life is this. Some of us say, I will serve God when my life straightened up. I'll come to believe Him when I start retiring. Whatever the situation might be, when I finish school, then I'll come and read the Bible. When I do this, then I'll do that. That's not engagement. That's a reason for this engagement you rationalize yourself into. What these women did was that they had questions. They weren't fully prepared. Remember, they were prepared with what they could. Spices, getting up early, alarm clock goes off, all three of them meet at a point. They might even have room together that night. Who knows? But they went to the tomb early in the morning, but they had this unpreparedness. And you think to yourself, wait, could you bring some strong guys with you? Because that's the question. The question that they asked has to do with their inability. And they were saying to one another, okay, well, you're looking at me and saying, what's he talking about? Because verse 3 says this, and they were saying to one another, who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance of the tomb? Now, you got to understand this. For three women who are prepared, this is a gross lack of preparation. Let me tell you about the stone. This stone is not a small stone. It's a huge piece of rock. I think that first picture that I showed you, I'll show it to you again later on. It's actually a sort of a cup up, it's sort of a circular, not exactly that good, but the picture shows a nice after the stone, but not necessarily. But when they carved this thing, they rolled the stone up on top of the hill, and then they put the body in, and then dislodge whatever holds the rock up, and the rock comes down and steals the soul, steals the tomb. The reason for that is that the body is brought inside. You don't want any animals getting in, and you don't want anything coming out. The scary part, right? So then the quick big rock comes down the hill, launches itself into the side, into the hole of the tube, and you can't remove it. It would take several strong men, if that, with tools and instruments, to get it back up the hill enough for somebody to go on in. That they have to do. Because most of the times, tombs that are really expensive, they bury more than one person in the tomb. So they have to actually be able to remove it. They don't seal it by, doing whatever they can seal the root tomb. They have to be able to remove it, but it's very difficult. It's a big task. And you ask yourself, if this 2, 3 women, unless they're bodybuilding women, right? They're not going to be able to do this. Said that they were so unprepared. Well, the answer is more than likely the men were sleeping. And then more than likely the three women said, let's do this together. And we go, this. And then as they were moving, we go, oh, we got a problem here. Here's what I say to you and me. You don't have all the answers to your questions answered yet. God will do it for you.
God will give you the answers as you engage with your heart, as you prepare your mind, as you open. Let the wicked forsake his ways and the righteous man his path, and he will abundantly. You can't pardon yourself. Come, let us reason together. You can't just by reasoning cleanse yourself of sin. Because once you start engaging in it, the questions come out. Good questions often come with a willingness to engage. And so that's the first question. Do you notice? The first question is, who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance of the tomb? That question is a very important question because it is a question of our sufficiency or our insufficiency. We are not able to do something. A question of sufficiency. Am I able to do this? So now I trust God with all that I am and all that I have. Am I able to walk through this difficult time? Kathy and Joshua have given us questions to ask. What are some of the challenges that are coming up this week, or maybe in life up ahead? Other question: who can understand my pain? I got this incredible sense of pain that nobody can seem to engage in. Somebody says, "Oh, I have a similar sort of pain," but I talk to them and they don't quite understand. They're not dealing with this also. Oh, how will I provide for all those who are under me? I haven't got a job, I'm not able to engage, how can I provide? Or what's happening to my application? I put an application in and I'm waiting. And in my mind, I'm looking at the application sitting on someone's desk and they've gone for lunch. And the lunch is filled on it. So they took my lunch and they just did that and go, dirty. They threw my application out. Oh no. Do I have to put in another one? What's happened to my application? Has it gone to some netherland online and nobody's looking at it? What's happened? How can I measure up? I can't seem to be able to understand this. How can I measure up? What's going to happen to me? How can I begin to solve the problems that seem to be coming at me? These are all questions of sufficiency. Who will roll the stone away for us out of the entrance of the tomb? You see, here's the question. Here's the problem. A lot of times, when we start engaging in who God is, then the answers come to questions like those. Because the questions asked has to have an answer. Greek philosophy tells us that it's good to ask good questions. And then somebody pushed to argue even further. Oh, good questions are good to ask. It doesn't matter about the answer. Wrong. A good question demands a good answer. But you have to ask the right questions in order for the answer to come. So, who will roll the stone away for us is a question of, I can't do this. Who will? You got to go back. To whom will the women engage? Is Jesus, the one whom they will be going to. And this is the surprise that they actually engaged in. Watch this. And verse 4. And looking up, they saw the stone had been rolled back. In other words, it's a past present continuous. It had been rolling back, it had rolled back where it was. It's done. Before they even said to each other, who was going to do this? God already did it. And it's my personal testimony, time and time again. I'll ask the question, how is this going to be solved? If he is already in the process of solving it, I just don't know. Or his answer to me is, hang on, wait for a little bit, too early to solve, because if you resolve it now, something else is going to come up to its. And as the woman approached that too, who will roll the question, the stone away from us, roll out their tongues. And the answer had already been given. They saw that the stone had already been rolled back. And the commentary was, it was very large. In other words, it wasn't just by accident. Something happened through that night, a squirrel came along, sat in the stone, and they went, no, doesn't happen. It was very large. So here's my question for us as we think about this. What is it in your life, that pounds on your door that says that you're not sufficient, you can't do this. There's no way you can do this. And what is it that you need to do? Go around trying to grab shovels, ask people to help you? No. Trust that God will do it for you. Have you learned how to pray like everything matters? Have you learned to walk in Him so that you love Him first before you love your problems more? 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9 says, what no eye has seen, no ear has heard, nor the heart of man imagined what God has prepared for those who love Him. God has prepared for those who love Him that which you cannot even see or hear or even imagine. Zechariah. Zechariah is a prophet that wrote at about the time when the temple had been completely destroyed. And he didn't know how this was going to be done. And there was an administrator by the name of Zerubbabel. And the guy was, I don't know, maybe a crooked man, a very small stature. He loved to hold a pen, but not hold a shovel. How can you build a temple? Little guy, small guy, insufficient guy. How can we move the stone? And God said to Zechariah, this is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, the weak, tiny little guy who holds a pen. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. It is not because you are strong enough, Zerubbabel, that you can move this mountain. Who are you, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel, you shall become plain. They go, Zerubbabel, who, me? I can do this? No, you can't do it. Not by might, not by power, but by my spirit. You got it, Zerubbabel? Not by you, but by me. Then you will know that the Lord of hosts has sent me to you. For whoever has despised the day of small things shall rejoice. Those who think that small things can't do anything, at that day, when God uses small people to move big mountains, that it will demonstrate that it's not by the hand of man, but the hand of God, that something is done. Then you will rejoice. In fact, it was William Carey who said, we must attempt things which are impossible to man, so that when they are done, we know there's only hand of God. Sometimes we think that we did ourselves. We pray, we go and do, but you knew that before praying, you never. And so, the question of sufficiency was the very first question that was asked. And then there are two others, and we're going to run through them very quickly, because the second one starts with the alarm. They were alarmed when they saw this great big thing being moved. And the alarm was real. Surprising answers can often come out of willingness to stay the course. If you and I went and they saw the stone rolled away, and mind you, this particular passage in Mark does not say what else they saw. I'm going to show you another passage that on that stone sat an angel. He was the agency of this movement. And so they were alarmed. And I want you to go, okay, these three women who are totally like hands-on women, you know, standing there, yeah, we can do this because we want to move souls. They saw Aaron because it was a natural response to be alarmed. That word, alarm, is in the Greek that is written in. The word is akambeo. Akambeo is a very interesting word. It's not just oh alarm when you set your alarm when you're talking, you have to get going. To be thrown into terror. That's what it means. Akambeo. They were absolutely terrified. Now, if I were to go to somewhere and I'm described as absolutely terrified, totally terror, you know where I'd be? I'd feel to be rolling on the floor, running away from it. These women stayed. Maybe they were holding hands. Maybe they were saying to each other, don't run, but they stayed. And surprising answers come out of your willing to stay the course, even though it might be difficult. There was an earthquake, and an angel had descended on it. That's the Matthew passage. So behold, there was a great earthquake, and an angel had descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone and settled. We're talking about stone plus the angel that they saw. So they were terrified. They had joy and terror. And there was a great earthquake. Circumstances were extraordinary. So not only was it natural to be afraid, the circumstances were great to be terrified. Here's my point. What marked the women wasn't extraordinary courage. What marked them was absolute determination. I'm here to do this. I'm so glad to see the new Lord. You know, she lived all the way here on Good Friday, and she lived here to church today. She had dropped the box because she was moving on her toe and it turned blue. Guess what she did? She iced it. And then she says, I'm coming to church. Pure determination. And you can go up to her and say, you're so brave. And she looked at you and says, I'm determined. Right? Determination can look like courage. But really, it's because you know what it's right to do and you're going to do it. Nothing can shake you off. And the thing that comes out, the answers that come out of pure determination or absolute determination are what honors God. Be absolutely determined to read your Bible, even though you feel as if I don't understand it. Be determined. Be determined doesn't mean keep knocking on the same door. Go read the commentary. Do something. Ask questions to people. I read this, I don't understand it. What does it mean? Be determined. You take a screwdriver and you knock your nail into it, it doesn't work. Please be determined and ask somebody, is the screwdriver the right way to actually knock the nail in? No, use a hammer. And let me show you how to use a hammer, how you do it. Determination doesn't mean doing the same thing all the time. It means that you're seeking answers. So then I have a question for us. And the question for us is what is determination? What scares you off of seeking God? What makes you so scared about seeking God and just don't do it? What scares you off? I've got some suggestions that I can just help. Maybe it's loss. Maybe it's pain. Worries of life. Maybe it's disappointment with something, someone, somewhere. Maybe it's death. Maybe it's rejection of friends. Maybe it's sin. Maybe it's someone else's sin. Maybe it's someone else's words. They said something and you got so fed up you don't want to see God anymore. Maybe they did something and how can Christians do that? You don't want to do that anymore. A lot of people leave churches for that reason. And then they don't turn back. And Satan sits there in the corner and he starts planting. Because you have given up on what it means to seek God because you're scared out of it. And the question for us is, what scares you off from seeking God? Here's Psalm 37. Psalm 37 was written by a man named David, King David. He was a warrior for God. First of all, he began as a shepherd boy. And he had been put in situations where he was so scared, so scared. He's running around mountains and his enemies are chasing him. He's got nowhere to run. And God always came through. Always came through. And in all the midst of all those experiences, he sits down as an older man, he writes these words, be still before the Lord. Psalm 37, verse 7, and verse 35, and 4, and 16 more verses. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Wait for the Lord and keep His way. Stay the course. And He will exalt you to His inheritance. He will lift you up, this exalt you, so that you might engage in what He has prepared for you. What do you need to do? Well, stay the course. Be prepared to stay the course. Isaiah chapter 4, verse 31. Back to Isaiah again, same brother. He says, but they will wait for the Lord. They don't just wrap yourself all around and just say, God, I don't want to do this. I'm going to stay the course. Hang on, real tight. Shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk. Okay, I've said this before. We take a look at that verse. It's the opposite of maturation. It's not like you're very stronger as you're doing English. And we take a look at the verse. Can the camera catch me when I do this? We will wait on the Lord. Got it? Understand. They shall do what? Renew their strength. Good. Understand. Thank you, Lord. But what shall they do? First they will fly, and then they run, and then they walk. Fly, run, walk. Is it the other way around? Should it be walk, run, fly? Yeah. Isaiah, he's changed that. He said, you're wrong. Wrong, because people don't fly before they run and run before they walk. It should be the other way around, right, Isaiah? Did you get it wrong? And Isaiah looked at me and says, no, you are. Because I'm not talking about maturation. I'm not talking about you growing strong. I'm talking about you being more dependent on God. And as you're more dependent on God, you become more perseverant. When you are young and there's rain going, you want to run through the rain because you don't want to get wet. But as you mature, and you know that rain doesn't hurt you, it's not going to apply for you. When you mature, and you know that rain doesn't hurt you, you run through it. And then when you really know that rain will never, you can dry yourself up with no, you walk through it. You enjoy. That's not maturation. That's perseverance. Those that wait upon God, those who are determined in God to walk the way that He calls you to walk, not to run away, but to stay the course, He will make you so that you read your strength every single day. Watch what happens when you stay at the empty tomb. When you stay at the empty tomb, John chapter 20, the gospel witness of the question is asked. Mary, one of the three, stood weeping outside the tomb. As she wept, she stooped to look into the tomb. Now, some of you might think, wait, were the three women, why is that Mary only is mentioned? This because the story belongs to Mary. John was writing about her. There were two other women. The other Mary is alone. There were three of them. And John is telling the story of this particular Mary who might have actually told his. And two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had laid. So is there two angels or one angel? One angel rolled it away, two angels sat outside. Two angels were sitting where the body of Jesus had laid, one at the head and the other at the feet. And they said to her, the question number 2, why are you weeping? us interpret that. Okay, woman, why it comes from the culture of the day. So John Gill, who wrote Gill's commentary, wrote in the 1800s or 1700s these words, woman, that word. By the way, John Gill was the very first one who actually wrote a systematic verse-by-verse commentary of the Bible. An amazing man. But he wrote these words about this particular verse. The word woman, what might sound harsh today, is the voice of gentleness. For why are you weeping comes as a voice of comfort, not like why are you weeping? As woman, why are you weeping? Why? In fact, that question is asked twice, once by Jesus and once by an angel. Woman, why are you weeping? I want to say this. That is not a question that God, Jesus, scolds you. It's a question that comes with restoration. I know you're determined. You put your hands to the plow, and things don't seem to be going so well. You're frightened to your wits. Don't. Consider that I am here on your behalf, especially restoration. And that restoration really has to do with how he walks beside you. There was a young man. He is a disciple of Paul. His name is Timothy. Minor. But Timothy was a very timid man. Every time he turns around, he's afraid of what other people will say about him. And how he was going to run away and hide. That's why Timothy can be written as timid. But really, he wasn't needed. We didn't need to do Tim. The reason why I chose my name is because the word Timotheus means to honor God. But he was a timid young. And Paul wrote to Timothy, he said this, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 5 to 7. I am reminded of your sincere faith. Remember? You have this pure faith. You came to me seeking me. You were not sufficient. But remember, the faith brought first your grandmother Eunice, Lois, and your brother Eunice, and now I'm sure as you as well. You are engaged. For this reason, I remind you to fan the flame of the gift in you. Stay the course, which is in you through the laying on my hands, for God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and of love and so. Don't let the word of God slip in your heart. So, again, the second question of sufficiency, the question of restoration. Now, the very last one. While the women will confess after the book of Luke that we read like this about this, behold, look here, two men stood by them, gasping clothing of heaven. And as they were frightened and bowed their faces to the ground, the men said to them, why do you seek the living among the dead? That's an important question. That question. He's not human, but he is risen. So the third question is not a question of sufficiency, not iron. Not a question of restoration. It's okay. Don't run away. Don't be still. But now is a question of faith. What do you seek the living amongst the dead? I don't know. I haven't answered to that. Because we think Jesus is dead. If you ask the question, why are you here? You will say to anoint two more Jesus. If they ask, why are you looking for that being who is living? He says, because he's not alive. He's dead. But that's a very interesting question. Why do you seek the living amongst the dead? Which means that I'm in the wrong place. As I give one illustration. If I got really, really sick, and I went in for an operation, major operation. And I came out of the night 3 hours in surgery. I came out and God just miraculously healed me. Before even the stitches were healed, I was walking around and went to the cafeteria to get some food. And you came to visit me at the hospital. You came to visit me thinking that I had died. So you went down to the basement of the hospital where they keep the dead bodies. You went to the wall. Okay? So then I'm in the cafeteria. You're in the wall looking for me. And the mortician says, "Oh, can I help you?" She says, "I have a name here. His name is Timothy Quirk. I need to go claim his body." And the guy says, "Why are you here?" "We're looking for the living among the dead." He's in the cafeteria. That's what was asked of him. And these women were wondering, why are we looking for the living? I didn't know he was living. Why is he looking after death? A big question, isn't it? So the three things: sufficiency, restoration. What you see for the living among the dead is phrased another way. Can I phrase it another way? If you knew that he is living, would you be seeking him at a church? Would you? No. Let me ask you a few more questions about it. If you know that his love for you is not sufficient, if you keep trying to seek the love of other people, they aren't sufficient. Well, why do you keep doing that? If you know that he cares for you, even for the birds of the air and the flowers of the field, why do you keep worrying? If you know he cares for all these things, why do you keep worrying? Why do you get up in the morning and worry? Why do you spend time worrying after the worry is fulfilled and you don't have to worry, you go on to the next worry? Why do you keep worrying? Well, why are you so caught up? Why do you seek for the living amongst the dead? If you know that God is faithful, because that is his very nature. God is faithful, he cannot deny himself. What verse 53 says. If you know that God is faithful, why do you struggle and trust in him in all things? Why? And here's one more. Questions that we need to ask ourselves. You know that he is a resurrection and life. Why do you believe as if death is the end? Wow. Sometimes we do things because we don't have faith and instead that he's the because he is sufficient. Because he's the answer of prayer. He's sufficient because he's lonely Lord with soul. And he's comforting because he's a God of restoration when you're so scared. But he's also a God who prompts you to engage in your faith. Can you stand together? Let's read this very verse that comes from the book of Matthew. He is not here, for he has risen as he said. Come, see the faith. Then go quickly and tell that he has risen from the dead. And this three declarations was this. Isn't it? Come, engage, see. And not only then, but go do something about it and tell others that he has risen from the dead. That's what we need to do. Father, we can ask God. So with people that we don't know what it means to engage in the living Christ, we take our lessons on these questions asked. Two questions asked by the women, one question asked by the women. And our faith is so insufficient, but you're more sufficient. that we sometimes do illogical things, even though we know that you love us so much when you're president. Teach us to walk in these pieces with faith, with courage, with determination, to stick to it, to hang on. We pray this in Jesus'